Every year is an opportunity for a beginning. Nothing is permanent. It can and will change if we fight hard enough. Together, our strength is in you. Talent wins games, but teamwork wins championships. Together, we can be the first. Together, we can win the battle. We were given this life because we are strong enough to live it. I am Bonnie St. John, a Women's Forum member and the first. Now is our time. Coming to us from USC Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism, Dean Willow Bay.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 11th Annual Elly Awards. I am so privileged and honored to be sharing this afternoon with all of you and with these incredible women that we're here to celebrate. Today is an opportunity to be inspired, and today we are connected when so much of this world has been pulling us apart. It's been quite a year, and we are still in the middle of it, despite the challenges we have faced and despite the additional hurdles we've had to overcome. Women are leading the way forward. Economist Janet Yellen is the first woman to head the Treasury Department since it was founded in 1789. At the Super Bowl, Sarah Thomas was the first ever female referee to officiate. And our Grand Slam achievement, Vice President Kamala Harris is the first female vice president and the highest ranking female official in U.S. history. This is only the beginning. Next year marks the 50th anniversary of Title IX. Hard work and perseverance are launching us to the next level. Women are not just finding themselves included at the decision-making table, they are making the critical decisions. Later in our program, we'll have the privilege of honoring and speaking with Cynt Marshall, the first Black woman CEO in NBA history. After transforming a toxic work environment into a case study of a diverse and inclusive culture, Cynt has become a motivating voice for all women everywhere. 47 years ago, Eleanor Guggenheimer harnessed her own voice and started chipping away at the barriers that were holding women back. The Women's Forum has been supporting women by giving back through its education fund. There is no greater pillar of stability than a strong, independent, and educated woman. The support around these women is a true testament to where we are right now as a community. Phil Jackson said, "The strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each individual member is the team." Well, here to kick us off is the leader of this team, a woman whose commitment has framed the diverse programming and sustained the strength of its membership. Please welcome the president of the Women's Forum Board, Joan Haffenreffer.
Thank you, Willow, and good afternoon, everyone. We're so glad you could join us today. We've got an exciting program ahead of us as we honor Cynt Marshall with the Elly Award and renew our commitment to education as we recognize our scholars. I'm so proud of our Women's Forum members for stepping up and looking out for each other this past year. As I was preparing for this event, I started to reflect on the power of partnerships. Many of you know that I am an avid tennis player. I started as a young child with my mother as my doubles partner, and I've competed most of my life. I learned early on how important partners and teams are to keeping us motivated and performing at our best. Women helping women never gets old. We're stronger together, and it's because of you that we not only found a way to survive this past year, but we found a way to thrive. Participation in our virtual programs has exceeded all expectations, and our membership has continued to grow significantly. We've engaged in programs that span the topics of arts, theater, music, and fashion, include civic and international engagement, and personal and professional development. Program highlights from this past year include the American Ballet Theater, a discussion on ranked choice voting, and our EY partnership series to promote women in the boardroom. And we also invited former First Lady Michelle Obama and Valerie Jarrett to share their thoughts on women's empowerment and creating closer connections with the women in our lives. and our progress hasn't stopped. We've been hard at work revitalizing our communications and evaluating opportunities to restructure. I'm happy to announce we're launching a redesigned, updated website. Our clean, fresh look has a more user-friendly appeal that will make it easier to navigate for both current and prospective members. The Women's Forum and Education Fund have also taken a major step of merging into one 501c3 entity. This allows the Ed Fund to become part of our overall mission and purpose of the Women's Forum and strengthens our organizational structure. Our Ed Fund continues to create a solid support system to women for continuing education through scholarships. Many of the women we've helped are the first in their family to graduate from college. I'd like to thank everyone who's contributed to the Ed Fund this year, especially to our platinum sponsors, including BNY Mellon, thanks to Daisy Holmes, Horizon, thanks to Linda Willett, and to my own company, Citi. Thank you to Barbara Marcus for her devoted leadership of the Education Fund over the past 2 years, and to the entire Ed Fund Advisory Committee for their ongoing work with the colleges and their thoughtful review of the applications and selection of our annual group of 20 scholars. Thanks to our silver, bronze, and copper donors, and to our scholar sponsors whose names you see on the screen. And to Marcy Sims and the Sims Foundation for underwriting our scholar video. I'd like to take a moment to thank our team of Women's Forum members who've worked so hard to bring us this event. And a special thank you to our wonderful Executive Director, Susie Brown, and her team. I'm so proud of how we've continued to connect as women, and we're excited to start planning some traditional in-person events starting this summer. Now, please allow me to introduce Women's Forum member and the president of John Jay College, Carol Mason. Carol and her team have been incredibly supportive of the Ed Fund, and we're excited to announce that 4 of our scholars this year are entering the program from John Jay. Please welcome Carol Mason.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here today. I couldn't be happier to have this opportunity to connect with such a remarkable group of women leaders. I'm proud to be among my fellow forum members because collectively we have the power to provide future generations with the tools they need to uplift their communities. One of the greatest strengths we have is our ability to work together. Because as we know, we can only go so far on our own, but with the right support, we can turn obstacles into opportunities. With the right team at our side, we can reach new heights that we never imagined possible. As we find ourselves in the middle of a national reckoning on racial and gender justice in America, and organizations grapple with issues of inclusion, we have to remember to make a little room at the table for everyone to have a seat. And if there's no seat available, I highly suggest taking Shirley Chisholm's advice and bring your own chair. Remember, when we help someone dare to be their authentic self, when we amplify another person's voice, when we empower someone with an education, we open the doors to opportunity. If obstacles are preventing someone from reaching their fullest potential, it's up to us to clear a pathway to success. So many brilliant students are trying to earn an education while navigating financial difficulties and contending with challenges such as domestic abuse, immigration status, addiction, and solo parenting. That's why we called you all together for this event. Every strong woman has a story of resiliency, but within each of these stories, there's always someone, a mentor, a friend, even a stranger, who helped lift her up along the way. It doesn't take much to make a difference, and every little bit counts. The Education Fund is an opportunity for women to help women. When it comes to educational dreams, there is no expiration date. The Women's Forum has been providing unrestricted grants to an often overlooked demographic of mature students. These students are women who are over the age of 35 and have shown heroic and extraordinary efforts in overcoming adversity. Over the years, we've been privileged to have many of our students at John Jay be selected for this prestigious award. I've had the honor of witnessing the power of this fund. Gabriela Peleas Benitez came from a family that didn't have the opportunity to earn an education, but she was determined to break that pattern. Having immigrated from Mexico when she was only 7 years old, she couldn't apply for any financial aid. So she juggled multiple jobs, studying only when she could afford to do it. The Education Fund eased Gabriela's financial burdens, and last year she graduated from John Jay with a master's degree in taxation. Hope Sanders grew up in the 80s and 90s, right in the middle of the drug and AIDS epidemic, and witnessed firsthand the negative impact it had on her community. At a young age, Hope found herself entangled in the criminal legal system, and she vowed to turn her life around. Upon her release, she began working as a peer educator at Harlem United and focused her efforts on rehabilitation and reintegration. Recognizing the limitations she was facing with a lack of education, Hope reached out to the Education Fund. She's now studying at Lehman College, another CUNY institution, with the hopes of reforming the criminal legal system. It's the continued support of our community that's cheering these women on. It's pushing them to dig a little deeper. It's encouraging them to keep moving forward. It's giving them the guidance they need to have their best run. Let's take a minute to hear some of their stories.
My mother would take us to Rockefeller Center to go ice skating, but then I would come back to NYCHA housing in Harlem, and I seen the contrast of it, and it bothered me. And then, as I got older, I started seeing. I really started seeing. Then I was incarcerated at 16, so I also became a product of it. And while inside, I really encountered people that suffered. You know, who you may see on the news as being a murderous mother, rapist. These were women that went through trauma their whole lives. And I started seeing how systems failed them.
I gave my children up because I couldn't care for them. And they're back in my life. They found me on social media. So for me to be here with you guys now, I had to do the work. So when they came, I wasn't the same woman that gave them away. I gave them to God so He could take care of them. And they're back in my life.
We're going through a really difficult and tough time. We're not the only ones, but every day that we wake up and that we are healthy is a wonderful day, and we have to celebrate that.
It's an unbelievable feeling to be sitting here and being a part of this. And it is such a wonderful time in the world right now for women. And I am absolutely honored to be in the group of women that are honored with this award this year. I read their stories. These women are incredible. I mean, what they've gone through, what they're doing with their lives, and to be a part of that is very special.
Most of my life, I did not value myself. I did not see my own worth. I did not feel I deserved a seat at the table. And embarking on this educational journey, I still wasn't really sure I belonged there. I'm like, I'm old, do I, you know? So there was a lot of questioning. And going through the application process and really getting into the meat and potatoes of my essays and seeing what I do bring to the table really empowered me to embrace this journey. And like, I belong here. Others believe in me.
I can't believe where I'm at, and the Women's Forum really helped me to believe it. And so to be a part of that, I'm pleased, proud, and hope I can offer more.
It takes one to make a difference,
And I'm glad that it's more than one woman making a difference, and I encourage other women to do the same.
This is a great place for support, inspiration, and recognition of our hard work. Women from support us, and we should support other women and work for them.
I get strength from those I see around me that perhaps may have went through some of the same things or even worse. And I see strength in everyone. So that resilience, I feel, is contagious.
Education is important, it's very impactful. I was able to sort of like refocus my brain, and I love to write, so being back in school just really made me push myself.
Education has broadened my perspective of life in general. As an individual, as a mom, my motivation for going back to school was not only to fulfill my education, but also to learn more of how I can help my own son overcome his challenges with autism. And he has helped me develop greater empathy for children who are just like him, and for people in general, patience, and that he teaches me as much as I think I've taught him.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you to the Women's Forum for believing in me, for reading my essay, to taking out the time.
If I could speak to the members directly, I would definitely thank them. I would tell them that they're sheroes for real, because they were able, I never would think that I would be amongst people that I've only watched or read about or perhaps studied.
What they've done is something that I would consider like a miracle on earth, because, you know, we often pray and we have our high hopes, and it's just amazing to know that there's an organization well established like the Women's Forum of New York that are able to give women like myself and others, and give them that push, like, you can do it, you know, you do matter.
For women that have not only gone through things in their life beforehand, to be of a certain age, to be able to go back to school is hard in itself. So having that financial support, especially for women that are parents, you know, it's a big deal. It's changing lives.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, coming from a background of addiction, we often only hear the tragedies, the lost lives, the lives that have been ruined. You don't often hear the other side. There's a lot of us that do survive, and we don't just survive, but we thrive in life.
I'm dancing every day in my mind and my heart, and in my career. So I'm super happy, I'm elated.
I have been asked to, my voice has been important, and I have been asked to participate.
Not only do I feel like I've, you know, been included and asked to dance, I feel like they asked me to pick the song too.
This year, the Women's Forum is honoring one of the most compelling leaders of our generation, Cynt Marshall. After navigating through systemic racism and domestic violence as a child, she went on to earn a full scholarship to the University of California, Berkeley, making her education a top priority. She met those challenges in early life with a focus on her future, finding comfort in books and in sports. Ultimately, developing a superior work ethic, she climbed into the upper ranks of corporate America. Cynt has been breaking barriers her entire life, from being the first African-American cheerleader to the first Black woman CEO in NBA history. Cynt has become a voice for our generation. Let's take a closer look. Cynt, welcome. I am so excited to have the opportunity to do a Q&A with you. Sorry we're not meeting in person. Look forward to doing that. But as I confessed earlier, I am a huge fan and have been watching your work closely, both as a lifelong lover and former employee of the NBA, but also as somebody who's been a champion of women and the quest for gender equality in all of our institutions. So bravo.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here with you. And I am looking forward when we can do this in person, when I can come back out to California, my home state, and hang out with you just a bit. That'll be awesome.
So I want to start with a question that we ask our scholars during their interview process. You know, this new decade offers us an opportunity to celebrate remarkable progress made by women. How does it make you feel, not just to be part of that progress, but helping to lead that progress?
I feel so incredibly blessed to just be able to carry on part of this journey that we're all on. Hopefully I'm carrying it with some grit and some grace and picking up some people along the way. I often think about, I actually have this t-shirt that says, I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. And so I know that, you know, there are people who came before me who, you know, a lot of women who came before me who are just, this is what they wanted to see. And so they had big dreams. They made a lot of sacrifices. So I'm just blessed to be able to contribute to this whole cause of trying to move women forward.
So Cynt, you joined the Mavs. I want to talk about your career a little bit. You joined the Mavs in 2018, shortly after an investigation revealed decades of sexual harassment and workplace misconduct. First of all, why in the world did you decide to take on that role with the Mavs? And then if you could share a little bit about the culture that you found there and the kind of work that it took to begin to clean it up.
Okay, and I'll try to do this as succinctly as possible. When I got the call from Mark Cuban, and I know you know this, I didn't know Mark. And so I had already retired from AT&T after 36 years, started my own consulting company. I just had a lot of good stuff going on. And I got this call from him. My husband and, kids had to tell me who he was. He wanted to meet with me. When we met, he laid out a story. Of course, I did my research, so I found out about the Sports Illustrated article and the climate that existed and all that. And he told me he had a crisis. And he wanted to know if I could come in and lead the business side of his organization. And after we spent about an hour together, I still hadn't decided. Honestly, I still hadn't decided that I was going to say yes, because this obviously was not in my plan. And two women stopped me as I was leaving Mark's office after we had our visit. And they just pulled me to the side and started telling me their story and said, Mark Cuban says you're the person who's going to come in and help save us. And we need you. And they told me why they needed me. So So I came back. I came back the next day. Well, I went home, prayed about it like I told him I would. Came back the next day, and Willow, before I could even let him know I was in the building, people grabbed me and took me in the conference room, and I was there for 3 hours. He actually found me in the conference room because he thought I hadn't even come back. And people were just telling me about, and the way I would describe it, it was a place that was not friendly to women as it should have been, and it was also not as friendly to people of color. It was not an inclusive organization, not too terribly diverse either. And there were just some real issues that needed to be addressed around values and just the way we operate and do business, and really a focus on diversity and inclusion and getting women and people of color to the table. And so for some reason, I was just uniquely equipped at the time to say yes to it because of my background and some of the work that I had done at AT&T and also was doing in the consulting firm. And I also think because of just being a woman in business and having, dealt with challenges as well, I just felt compelled to say yes for the sisterhood. Now the brotherhood has benefited, but I had to say yes for the sisterhood. I had to.
So can you just share with us just a few of the strategies that you used for the brotherhood and the sisterhood?
Yes. So it's what I call my recipe. It was simple, but obviously not simple to execute. We had a lot of people that we needed to help us execute. But I laid out a vision, and the vision said that by the end of the year, so by 2019, the Dallas Mavericks would set the global standard for diversity and inclusion. I mean, I just said it right off the top. That is our vision. We've got some work to do, and that's the stake I put in the ground. Then I laid out a set of values, and it spells crafts. So our hashtag is perfect our crafts. Character, respect, authenticity, fairness, teamwork, and safety, both physical and emotional safety. And kind of laid out what these values were all about and made it real clear that these values would be on the walls. Yes, we'd all see them, but they would operate in the halls. So everything we do, every decision we make, hiring decisions, the way we treat people, our fans, everything would be based on those set of values. And then laid out a 100-day plan. And the 100-day plan had 4 major pieces. The first was to model zero tolerance, to put an infrastructure in place where it was very clear that we wouldn't tolerate sexual harassment, misconduct, any inappropriate behavior, false allegations, none of that. We put a hotline in place. We would put training in place, whatever it took. And then also we'd make some personnel changes. We'd send some messages as well. So model zero tolerance. The second was a Mavs women agenda, just bold. What are we going to put in place to elevate, empower, educate women? The third piece was culture transformation, just overall a holistic diversity, equity, and inclusion program, strategies around making it a great place to work, employee engagement, all of that. And then that fourth piece was just operational effectiveness. What do we need in place to run a business? And so we looked at compensation, pay equity, all that. And so it was about 200 initiatives. And I had a one-on-one with every single employee in the organization, every single employee. And we built on the 100-day plan, executed on it. I had to make some leadership changes. So I ended up going from basically 10 white men in permanent leadership positions. So we didn't have any women or people of color in permanent leadership positions around my table. So it was a very interesting first meeting that I had. And so in those 90 days, we ended up with 50% women at the table and 47% people of color. So that was the recipe: vision, values, a 100-day plan, one-on-ones with everybody, and create a diverse leadership team. That was it.
Incredible. And so you get through, you're navigating through this monumental task, and then cut to the past 15 months that we have had that I think has tested us all as leaders. And I'm wondering if you could share some of the challenges that you encountered over the past 15 months. You said it's not just on the walls, it's in the halls. We had no walls and we had no halls. So I wonder how you navigated through that and what lessons you learned.
Oh, the past 15 months have been incredible. I noticed very early into the pandemic that I had changed kind of like my priorities in terms of just what I was doing on a regular basis. And I ended up calling it my new .com because everything started with a COM. Compassion was key. It was at the top of the list. People needed it. They were going through so much. We wanted to make sure, of course, our people knew they were getting paid and all that. So they knew they wouldn't have a financial crisis, but some people were having a health crisis. Their whole world had changed. Some people were trying to kind of educate their kids at home. I mean, as you know, just everything changed for us. So compassion is where I really had to kind of dig in and tell our leadership team, we got to have a lot of empathy. We've got to be right here for these people. And then communication, just trying to figure out how do we communicate now since we're not all together, but communication is so key. And not just how do we communicate, but what are we actually talking about these days? We need to talk about, yes, how we're going to respond to, playing in the bubble and all that. But we also need to respond to what's going on with people. We need to communicate about what's happening in the world, et cetera. And the community was big. We said, you know what? We don't know how long we're not going to be playing basketball, but we are playing the game of life with people. So we absolutely need to figure out what are we going to do to really step up to the community. And then compliance, of course, with all the different rules and regulations. And then compromise was a big one. And that was more around not compromising our health, since I have a compromised immune system from being a cancer survivor. And my team called me out on it, saying, you're compromising your health, you're working all night. We've got to figure out how we're not going to compromise our own health and what we're going through right now. And so I ended up basically kind of establishing our plan around those areas and really having a philosophy that said, let's meet people where they are. Not to even mention just the business side of it and trying to figure out new ways and creative ways to serve our fans, keep our players uplifted and in front of people. I mean, it all changed for us. But I will say we were agile. We were agile. We had a business continuity plan in place. And so far, so good. And now we're on the way back. So.
Your new .com strategy. That's amazing. I want to talk to you a little bit about your background and the foundation from which you were able to build this extraordinary career and extraordinary life. And from learning a bit about you, education and athletics were kind of critical, it seems, to your journey. Cynt the Sprint was your high school track name. You were the first Black cheerleader, and now you're the first Black woman CEO in the NBA. How significant was your athletic background, do you think, in fueling this journey that you've been on?
Oh, I think it was huge. I think it was huge. I mean, just being an athlete taught me so much about discipline. And I mean, I ran track. And so we had to be very disciplined about, even our summer routines when we thought we could get a little break, or our winter routines and running with, running heels with ankle weights on and all that. But I learned so many lessons about just being disciplined. I think about, wearing those ankle weights a lot because it was definitely a lesson in sometimes you'll have to, carry some weights and still, run for it and do what you need to do every day. But eventually those weights will come off and you can take off. I learned that when I ran track from my coach, Mr. Holmes, and I will never forget that because it's kind of been the story of my life. So it was getting me set up for that. And then teamwork, just being able to be a part of a team, knowing that people are relying on you. So you have to be ready. You have to be in good shape. You have to be conditioned, and you have to know what your role is. And so I learned that a lot when I ran track. Fortunately, I also had ran track with my three sisters and some others. And so we had to really depend on each other. And so I think about all those lessons. And then of course, just the rewards. And then you have to learn how to accept some defeats as well. So all of that truly I have carried into my education, but I also carried it into my professional world. And so when I even look at our values that I brought to the Dallas Mavericks, I can really go back to my days as an athlete and talk and give you stories about character, respect, authenticity, kind of doing me and knowing what role I would play, fairness, teamwork, and safety.
So if you were thinking about teaching young people, young women in particular today, and how athletics is such a critical part of education and shaping some of the skills that you just noted, like teamwork. So if you were going to design an athletic-based curriculum today, like what would be the key elements? What would it look like?
Okay, so I would design it based on, actually, I just gave a commencement address a few weeks ago at High Point University. And I was
Oh,
thinking
congrats.
about,
Fantastic.
thank you, thank you. My son actually went there, and then the speaker couldn't make it, so they called me, and it was great. It was a wonderful experience, and that's one of the favorite things I like to do. I like to do commencement addresses. So, but anyway, I thought, okay, obviously, I'm a basketball person. I'm a sports person, and I just so happen to be the sports executive in residence at High Point. So I said, I got to give them a message. I got to give them a lesson. I got to give these young people a lesson on their way out. And it was based on athletics and based on basketball. And so the curriculum, I think, would be the social science piece of it. I think would be about teamwork and knowing who you are doing life with on the court and off the court, and choosing your friends carefully, always being in good company, and really thinking about what are you doing to keep your court safe, and are you really with people to keep your court safe. So I have a curriculum about that, about making choices about people you're doing life with. I think the physics part of it would be your position. Be mindful of the role that you have to play. I would have a curriculum that helps people identify that who they are, what role they're supposed to be playing, what's their purpose. Because I really do believe that we all have a position to play, and that our part is perfectly scripted in terms of what we are to contribute to each other and to the world. And so I have a curriculum around how do we identify, how do we go deep around who we are and how we're going to spend our time, talent, and treasure to make things better. The math would be around tip off, around just calculations about what do you do when that ball is tipped your way? How do you pick it up? How do you make good decisions? And this is where the character piece, it leads into the character piece. So I would talk about the value of physical, mental, and spiritual health, being ready for whatever is going to be tipped your way, knowing how to set priorities, knowing what's a rubber ball that will bounce back, knowing what's a crystal ball that you have to handle it right then, because if it shatters, if you drop it and it shatters, it will never come back. And most things are rubber, few things are crystal, and helping people do the math and understanding kind of what, what's what. And then kind of the next piece would be ball handling. Handle the ball with character. Don't cheat. It's about integrity. I'd give some scenarios in the sports world, but also just in the game of life, period, on where people make good decisions and bad decisions and the consequences of those. And no matter what, your integrity is not for sale. And one of the final pieces I would talk about is rebounding. That would be my history lesson. I would talk about where this country and individuals have rebounded from some bad situations, because sometimes the light at the end of the tunnel is a train. Bad things happen to good people. And so I think we need to learn at an early age how to rebound with grace, and how to know that there's always going to be someone there, a team player there, someone present to help you rebound with grace. And then I would just kind of wrap it all up with the lesson of what I call being grown, being grateful, ready, open, wise, and nice. So that would be my curriculum that I would give to them.
Cynt, that was fantastic. Thank you. Before we let you go, the Women's Forum would like to recognize you as the recipient of this year's Elly Award. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. It is such an honor to get this award focused on leadership with the whole education twist to it. So I am honored. Thank you so much. There's a lot of great work to do in terms of leading. And so just to be recognized is very, very special to me. Thank you so much.
Well, congratulations again, and thank you, Cynt, for that amazing interview and for receiving the Elly Award. Now, everyone, it is your turn. We're going to take some time here in this program to give you all the opportunity to talk with each other. Over the course of the next few minutes, we want you to connect with the other members at your table, share your thoughts and opinions, motivate each other, inspire each other. And at the bottom of your screen, we will be scrolling across a few topics to kick off the conversation. There'll also be a clock counting you down from 8 minutes in the upper right-hand corner. And we'll see you all when we return. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for tuning in today with us as we celebrate these wonderful women. Today, we have seen how coming together, we can impact change. Your donations will help us continue to improve the world we all share. It's our responsibility to help educate women, to strengthen our community, whether it's through athletic motivation, momentous strides, or support. Together, we are champions and cheerleaders for our generation. Now, I invite you to take one more step forward and ask yourself, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? Let's all work at it together, starting now. Thank you.